Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this video I wanted to finally sit down and talk about my personal top 10 games of 2021. 2021 has been a pretty interesting year overall, I think, because of the comparison of the games from a couple of years ago to this one per se. There hasn't been that much of the big hitters or AAA games or any of those big blockbuster titles by any means, just a few of them in comparison to the ones before in the past. We haven't had games that are like, Last of Us Part 2 or God of War or, so on and so forth in terms of how the marketing was and how they turned out and the budget and you name it. Again, we've had a few of those, and this was fortunately an opportunity for other games to shine that we don't normally get to see them in that big massive spotlight in comparison to those games. So anyways, with all that said, 2021 was still a great year for games, and I'm here to talk about what was just the ones that made up on my list. So before we go into all of that, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out and I really do appreciate it. And now here are my personal top 10 games of 2021. Number 10. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Nick All-Star Brawl was something very enticing to watch as the game was showing off its game mechanics and of course the choices they made for the character roster. The game is a case of ambition and love for the franchise, understated by its apparent budget for the production. These cartoon characters are from the childhoods of 90s kids such as myself, and met with disappointment as they were missing their core aspect or characteristic, the voices. While the music was also lackluster, more importantly, the characters are completely silent as they throw out their moves. It goes to show how voices are very important for fighting games or cartoon characters or just anything like that in general. Of all the platform fighters that needed voices the most, this was certainly the one, and it didn't happen. At least at launch anyway. There has been some teases and rumors here and there that could possibly lead to the voice packs thrown into the game later on, hopefully for free. However, by that point, everyone else will fall off while the hardcore Smash players will stick with it. But that's just my analysis anyway. Otherwise, the gameplay was pretty goofy but fun since this was developed by fans of Smash Melee, so it includes good mobility options and crazy kill setups that are pretty stupid but I guess fun to do, admittedly. It's a fun game in its own right, but for the general public, it's just another budget Smash clone that just won't be taken seriously, which is why it's at number 10. Number 9.
The fairway is open once again. On top of all that, there are several modes with new elements that truly bring the heat to Mario Golf, including this one, Speed Golf. Here, it's always your turn. Everyone tees off at the same time.
Mario Golf Super Rush. It's been a long time since I've played a Mario Golf game. I think the one I've played last time was on the N64, which was a while back, and Super Rush quenched my thirst for sure. I did wish for more courses at launch with the game, but at least the game does have free updates, and it does come with new courses along the way, with new characters as well. With the new stuff thrown in there overall, it's one of those video games that you have fun with people, friends, or random people online. Not much to say here other than that if you're really wanting to play Mario Golf, here's a Switch version, and it's pretty awesome. It's as simple as that, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Oh god, the curvatry.
Whoa!
Yo! Oh my god!
Number 8.
And look, they can join your party too. Oh my gosh, that music! We're not messing around, people. The evil Dark Lord is stealing faces. That's not nice.
Miitopia. Miitopia was another fun little Nintendo title that allows you to sort of create your own fun by inserting your own Miis into the story. Along with that, the turn-based RPG gameplay had a lighthearted and interesting take while simple for the most part. I wish you were able to control your party members during combat. All in all, it's a game that you have lots of silly entertainment while taking off your mind from the reality of things in your life as you relax with its lighthearted vibes. While yes, this is technically a remaster of a game, it might as well be a new game thrown onto the Switch here. I'll make that exception. Number 7. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. This was one of the games I was highly anticipating for this year and really could not wait to play. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is still my favorite generation within the Giant franchise. Now with that said, my one big disappointment from this game was its visuals. It's not bad, but I think it just lacks the ambition and creativity of the art direction you tend to see from other Switch games, or the potential of what things could have been done for this Diamond and Pearl remake. At times, I even thought Pokemon Masters, the mobile game, animated and looked better. Yes, the chibi models are supposed to be a callback of sorts on the game's original look, but this is the console version marketed as a remake. Accounting the fact that the franchise has made so much money over the years since my childhood, we still get mainline games that look like this, while a few other devs put more effort into the art style for their Pokemon games, usually spin-offs of course. Fidelity is not the issue here. Stylized graphics are certainly possible for these types of games. Even if I didn't mind the look of the game has bugs and glitches on the visual side of things that have been a bothersome nuisance throughout my viewing experience. Seeing the battle models made me wish that those were the default ones during the main part of the game. Now, with all that out of the way, once again, since I mentioned that all in my review, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl unloads a pleasant amount of nostalgia and had my moments of, hey, I remember this part, and I had a great time. I still appreciate the fact that my favorite generation got this sort of attention, so in the end, I'm a happy Pokemon trainer. Makes me wonder which generation will get remade next, and hopefully we'll step up the art direction for the sake of things. Number 6.
Let's get that research started. By watching wild Pokemon, you can discover behaviors and expressions that are rarely seen. Look, a surfing Alolan Raichu. And there's Vaporeon. Let's try throwing it a fluff fruit. That's it. Now's our chance!
New Pokemon Snap. I was actually hyped for this Pokemon game as well. This was also a gem from the old days of Pokemon, and certainly my child naivete didn't allow me to fully appreciate the game for what it was. So when this was announced for the Switch, I could not wait to play it. Funny enough, this was one of the Pokemon spin-off games that once again has great graphics and amusing art style thanks to Bandai Namco, which does look somewhat similar to that of Pokken. Everything was intact in terms of gameplay and feel and what made Pokemon Snap Pokemon Snap in the first place, on top of the updates that made the game a more pleasant experience. Not only taking good pictures of Pokemon with high scores was oddly satisfying, finding secret paths and setting off certain actions and scenes with Pokemon interacting with each other, alone or with others, in each course was the other half of the fun for me. I really wish that the new main Pokemon games at least attempt to make them look like this, sort of. I certainly think this is possible for the Switch. Cut it down to 30 frames per second if you have to. For all I care, it's turn-based anyway. You don't need those reaction times in order to play the game anyway. This was another game that brought me back to my childhood days, but now I was able to appreciate the game fully for what Snap was, and then some. I am certainly glad the game looked great while doing so. It's at number 6, overtaking Brilliant Diamond by a slight hair just because it both had fun gameplay to their own right, but the art style made all the difference for me. Number 5.
The most powerful bounty hunter in the galaxy, Samus Aran. On her latest mission, she'll explore the inner belly of a beastly planet, ZDR, which holds many secrets.
Metroid Dread. Another Nintendo game taking a spot in this list is indeed Metroid Dread. It really complements what the Switch does well, along with other major titles on the Switch. This is a classic video game at best with that modern packaging. I really liked it for what it was. Metroid with all the important elements including the exploration, the shooting combat, mobility, boss battles, the puzzles, and of course the challenge to go along with all that. It certainly adds interesting bits to the lore for our beloved bounty hunter Samus Aran. But importantly, the game was awesome to play on the big screen with its dark, isolated feel as you traverse through its world. While this could be something of a repeat for hardcore fans, I think this is a good way for people coming back to the franchise such as myself, and of course the newcomers to try out the experience that is Metroid. And this is Metroid experience galore, I think. Despite some of its shortcomings, I think this is still a great must-have for the Nintendo Switch. Number 4.
Can't you see I'm blazing? Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new world over you. My tribe is my word. Your words will never let me disappear. That is bullshit blazing. Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new world over you.
Guilty Gear Strive. This is definitely the fighting game of the year for sure, hence the pretty high ranking spot for a fighting game. The art direction and style alone is an absolute 10 out of 10. The gameplay is also something to behold as well. I've enjoyed my honeymoon phase with Potemkin mostly, along with Leo and May to some extent, from its small but decent roster size. But in any case, the devs definitely put their time and resources to make sure the fighting game core of this game was the best part, though it seemingly came at the price with that subpar lobby system, as its lacking robust experience really makes things difficult for getting the matches started with people. However, the netcode itself is a godsend when all the planets align. This is important for fighting game fans because online became as important as ever, especially with the age of the pandemic. It feels good to play people across the world, or at least playing within my circle of friends. GG Strive looks awesome, feels awesome, the music is fantastic as well. The overall core and package is a vast improvement from its predecessors, at least to some degree, more ways than one in my humble opinion. It's just fun to play. The gameplay balance has been good for the most part as new patches come out to change up the characters, on the better side of things. They are more fun to play for the most part. They don't really nerf them too much to take away the fun that we recognize from these characters early on. Also, the game is just as complicated as the other Guilty Gear games thanks to each DLC character that come out for the game. But at least it's fun, and that's what really matters here. Keep rocking, baby. Oh, wait.
ちょっと高すぎます。帰れる。
作戦に支障はない。
Number 3.
北へに消熱がしま純国の獅子が今を向くいざ対峙戦散る火花
Monster Hunter Rise. During my solid launch week of Monster Hunter Rise, playing with friends and all on the Switch, I actually had lots of fun with its new features such as the wire bug, of course importantly the weapons I go to, such as the hammer, gun lance, and bow guns. But it's not to say that the other weapons aren't fun in their own right as well. Now of course it's not to say that all the other weapons have their own degree of fun as well thanks to the wire bug. I love the feudal Japan theme, visuals, music, and other aesthetics including the intros for each monster with that charming Japanese kabuki-esque narration. Unfortunately, after we were finished with the main game part of things, all of us just fell off completely. It's at number 3 because it was really fun when I first played the game, but something about the post-game experience is just pretty lackluster to me anyway, comparing to something like Monster Hunter World. That game was my first Monster Hunter experience. At least with all the new events that have been coming out for the game, they're all permanent, so coming back is a little less stressful as I picked up some layer armor here and there from the crossover promotions such as Akuma from Street Fighter. Perhaps if the boys pick up the PC version of things, I'll pick up that and go through the new game again as there is no cross progression, unfortunately. Otherwise, it's another great title on the Switch if you're willingly okay with what's after the main story. I mean, there is Sunbreaker coming as its new expansion, so maybe that'll bring me back to the game, but we shall see. Now, before we go into our top 2 for 2021, there are a couple of honorable mentions and of course my disappointing game / worst game of 2021. First honorable mention goes to Pokemon Unite, which was a free-to-play game featuring Pokemon in that sort of League of Legends real-time strategy game format where you fight in different lanes and you complete the objective in order to to win the game, and you play with teams with Pokemon that have special abilities that kind of like reminiscent of the League of Legends characters, or at least the formatting anyway. And you use their special moves with their cooldowns and you just go at it, try to kill the team as much as you can before they can score on you, that type of thing. But for the couple of hours I put into the game, I can actually kind of have fun with it. It is what it is, a more simplified League of Legends type of game. There's only 2 lanes, I believe. There's 2 main lanes and then there's a bot lane in the middle. There's all kinds of lanes from what I've seen, I think, in League of Legends. As someone who doesn't play League of Legends, so this is where I'm coming from really. So as someone, just playing solely with Pokemon, I had a fun time. But you know, it is what it is, and so I'm not really putting my time into the game as of late. At least the game is coming out with regular updates to patch up the Pokemon, but also to come out with new characters as well, and they're free for the most part. The paying part or the monetization part is really for the costumes and just leveling up faster. There was that pay to win thing that was going on, at least early on in the game. I don't know if by this point it's still the same, but yes, in order for you to really dominate the game early during the big boom of things, yeah, you can put some money into it and literally wipe the board with your Pokemon however you like, I guess. My next honorable mention will go to Melty Blood, another fighting game that came out this year. This isn't a brand new fighting game per se. This is more of like a remaster slash new edition, you know, that got a pretty big makeover per se. It's a remake, maybe, I think, but either way, it's supposed to be bringing the old anime fighting game franchise that's pretty niche into the modern age, on Steam, PC, and of course the consoles, the major consoles anyway. And for the time I've put into this game, as someone who does like to try out fighting games, I thought this was okay for me. For the most part, I don't really have much to say. I do respect the characters that are in there. They are from Type Moon, which I am heavily familiar with from the Fate series, as someone who watched the anime and played the mobile game, you know, Fate Grand Order, and I've seen the gameplay of Melty Blood here and there, and everything else kind of looked into, you know, Type Moon stuff. And so Melty Blood is supposed to be sort of that mashup kind of the Type Moon characters into a fighting game. So it does have Saber, and hopefully it'll have Ryogi Shiki in there at some point. But there is the other Shiki with that same Mystic Eyes, but we'll see about Ryogi Shiki making it in there later on. But for the most part, it's an anime fighting game, so it does have that level of complexity, and I just didn't cling on to it as well as I would with something like DNF Duel as of recent. Let's just put it that way. But I do respect it for what it is. I mean, I was doing the combo trials. I did spend quite a bit of time with, I think, a character named Volve, the big tall guy who shoots out fireballs and ice depending on which round it is, I think, or what whatever mechanics he has. He's the zoner of the game, at least from launch anyway. There are new characters coming along the way, of course, but for what it was, something about the fighting game system overall didn't really have me as excited for something like Strive and DNF Duel, and of course KOF 15 with their betas, and Strive being the full game, of course. But anyway, I respect it from the outside of things, but otherwise, maybe perhaps Ryogi Shiki could pull me back in there to try it out for once again. Otherwise, it is what it is, and it's just one of those fighting games that didn't have me cling on to quite a bit, or quite as long. But now let me talk about my disappointing game / worst game of 2021, and that really has to go to Battlefield 2042. I was actually really looking forward to the game early on, of course, as a Battlefield fan or a fan of shooting games like Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, so on and so forth. Battlefield was another sort of the childhood pillars. This was during my teenage years, of course, because of 1942, of course, playing that on the old Mac back in the day. It's just great memories, great times. There's been some great Battlefield titles over the years, of course, but in recent times, with these games coming out half-assed at launch, terrible, and then they take a long time to update and become a little more, well, stable and tolerable at that point. But by that time, usually the audience or players have fallen off at that point, given up on it, and moved on to something else. I think this will be the same case here for 2042, unfortunately. I mean, I've seen some moments that looked fun, but ultimately with how the game was early on, even before the official quote-unquote launch of things, because of how they marketed the beta and launched the beta and all that such. It really drove me away from purchasing the game, and I think that was the right move, unfortunately, because I really wanted to get the game because I had that itch for that large-scale battle simulating feel kind of game that I do get from Battlefield in the past at least, but it looks like for this one, this isn't it. This isn't it, unfortunately, with its really bad hit registration, the glitches, and all the bad stuff that's been mentioned about 2042, and its lackluster just gameplay panache, I guess you can say. The content, not to mention, is definitely not all there. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to skip on this one, as much as I hate to say it. And we really don't know where Battlefield's going to go, unfortunately, because of what the development team has been going through. There's been some stuff going on over there. It's just looking pretty rough right now, but hopefully things iron out, and I don't know. I can only hope for things to be better, but for right now, I'm not playing Battlefield. That's just what it is. But now with all that out of the way, now let's go into our top 2 of 2021. Number 2. Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise, I gotta say, between this and the other game was a hard choice. However, really thinking about it, there were just a couple of things about Tales of Arise that bring it to number 2 rather than that number 1 spot. Tales of Arise went through a number of changes that were meant to streamline the game for newcomers, make it more digestible, if you will, so it wouldn't feel as slow or cumbersome, like having no victory screens, for example. Those sort of changes made the game deviant to what I'm usually used to and like to see and look forward to in Tales games, especially not seeing the skits in that 2D format, but instead the sort of that generic 3D modeling instead. Things like that ultimately have this game land on my number 2 spot. Of course, it does not need to be said, but it doesn't mean the game is more on the negative side of things. I really liked Arise. The story from start to finish was great all around. Changes also brought in some great ones, great updates to the game, such as the Unreal Engine, as this is the first time for a Tales game. The combat was fluid and snappy. I really loved the characters as the story progressed nicely, and it really complemented their growth, really. So in the end, this is a great game to pick up. It's one of those games that do go on sale pretty often. So for those who are kind of curious about this game, especially for JRPGs, I definitely recommend to pick it up. And of course, largely to those who are still fans of the Tales of series. So with that, Tales of Arise at number 2. Now we go into our number 1. And of course, the game of the year for 2021. Number 1.
真実の先に待ち受けるのは破滅か救いか。
Lost Judgment. My personal game of the year for 2021 goes to the sequel to Judgment, Lost Judgment. This Yakuza spin-off series has once again pleased the fans with its fantastic story, refined gameplay with its move over to the modern consoles and PC. Reasons why this takes number 1 because of how the story overall flowed and just how cool it was by the big climax. The combat is just something I do miss from the old Yakuza days, but Yagami looks damn good taking the mantle as that action game successor, while Ichiban from the current Yakuza storyline succeeds as a hero in a now turn-based JRPG. The amount of content was great, as it still does a good job sidetracking me from the main story with its wacky but reminiscent side stories, and of course the school stories this time around. At this point, fans know that there is a fourth fighting style, which is boxing, which is locked behind the paid DLC. While not expensive at $5, I just wish this was a reward earned from doing the school stories, because the amount of time you do spend on that from start to finish, which would have been a callback sort of like how you did the real estate missions in Yakuza 0, where you unlock the legendary styles of both Kiryu and Majima, I think. The story in Lost Judgment eventually evolves around two sides of justice that makes you think at least twice about which side is the right one, as you see both the good and bad from each side, at least to some degree. Along with that, you love the characters you see, new and old. It's almost like hanging out with your old buddy who is sporting with a somewhat new look, but is still the same cool friend that you know from way back when. With all that, Lost Judgment was a fantastic 70 hours of my gaming time, and I just wish this earned awards here in the West. Maybe someday these kind of games will be widely recognized by more people down the road, but still, it doesn't change the fact that I love to see from this series more. And hopefully the current issue at hand gets resolved between Sega and Johnny and Associates eventually, but we'll see. So that was indeed my top 10 games of 2021. Again, this was a great year for games, all in all, no matter how you look at it. Even if there were a lacking number of the big blockbusters, at least there are other games kind of got the spotlight in a way, as some of these games didn't make it into the awards. So what are your top 10 games of 2021? I would love to see those in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out and I do appreciate it. So here's to hoping 2022 will be another great year, since there are already great games coming along the way, especially the AAA titles, the AAA sort of anticipated titles like Elden Ring, and of course when it comes to the fighting games, there is KOF 15 and so on and so forth. Hopefully the new year will mean new great games. So that is it from me. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.